Good morning, students. Today I shall continue with the topic that is string functions used in MySQL. Now this was the table that displays all the string related functions, and out of all the string related functions I have already discussed about the LK string function and its synonymous lower function, the UK string function and its synonymous upper function, the substring function and the INSTR function. Now note that I haven't discussed about the mid function in my earlier presentation. This mid function is also a synonymous function of the substring function because both these functions serve the same purpose, that is they return part of a string. Now let's recapitulate the list of string functions that I have discussed in my earlier presentation. The first one is LCase. Okay, its synonymous one is the lower function. Both these functions, they serve the same purpose, that is they convert a string into the lowercase or into the small letter format. Then the next in the list is the UCase function, and its synonymous one is the upper function. Both these functions, they serve the same purpose because they are synonymous, and its function is to convert a string into the uppercase format or into the capital letter format. Then I have discussed about the INSTR function. The purpose of this function is to return the position of a given character in a string. Now note that a string may comprise of many different characters. Now if you wish to find out the position of a given character in a string, use this INSTR function. Now in today's presentation I shall discuss about this mid function, the LPAD function, RPAD function, CONCAT function and the length function. Now this mid function, okay, this is synonymous with the substring function, so both these functions returns the part of a string. Now let's start with the length function. The purpose of this length function is to return the length of a string. Now I shall discuss the concept of the length function in this slide. Now consider the table denoted by the name student. It comprises of three columns: SID, SNAME and SCD, and these are the list of values for these corresponding columns. Now based on this table, there is a question below. The question is asking us to write a query in MySQL to display the length of the student names. So for this question I shall write the query as select SNAME, length of SNAME from the table student. Now on writing this query, the first part of this query selects the column SNAME from the table student. Now if we select the column SNAME, all the entries, that is starting from RPAD to SAR till Anumita, shall be added into the output table along with the column SNAME. Okay, that's why in the output table I shall see the column SNAME with each of its entries. And then the second part of this SQL query uses the length function to display the length of the entries of the column SNAME. Now for each of these entries in the SNAME column, the length of those entries shall be calculated using this length function. As a result, for the first entry RPTA, since it consists of 6 letters, that's why the column length of SNAME shall return 6 for the entry RPTA. In the same way, for the second entry to SAR, since it consists of 6 letters, again for the entry to SAR, the column length of SNAME shall return the value 6 for the entry to SAR. Then thirdly, for the entry ASTIC, since it also contains 6 letters, so the function length of SNAME shall return the value 6 for the entry ASTIC. In the same way, for the fourth entry Hansika, since the total number of letters comes to 7, that's why the column length of SNAME shall return the value 7 for the entry Hansika. And finally, for the last entry Anumita, since the total number of letters comes to around 7, that's why when we select length of SNAME from the table student, that will return the value 7 for the entry Anumita. As a result, when we select SNAME, length of SNAME from the table student, the output shows two different columns, that is the column sname and the column length of sname, which shows the corresponding entries showing the list of student names and the entries which displays the length of those student names. Now again consider the same table, that is student, and read the question below. The question says write a query to demonstrate the mid string handling function. Now I shall write the following query to demonstrate the mid string handling function. The query says select sname, mid of sname, 3, 2 from the table student. So the first part of the query selects the column sname from the table student. Now on selecting the column sname from the table student, all the entries starting from arpita to char till anumita of the column sname of the table student shall be displayed in the output table exactly like this, along with the column sname. And then the second part of the select statement, that is mid of sname, 3, 2, uses the mid function, okay, to extract two characters from each of the entries of the column sname starting from the third position. Okay, now for the column sname, for the first entry arpita starting from the third position, that is from the position which holds the letter P. Okay, this is the third position for the entry arpita. From there, if we extract two characters including the letter P, then PI gets displayed in the output table like this. In the same way, for the second entry to char, the third position indicates the letter S, and if we extract two characters from it, so including the letter S, I add one more letter into it, that is the letter H. So SH gets extracted from this entry and gets displayed in the output table. Again for the third entry astic, the letter at position number 3 is S, okay, and extracting two letters including the letter S shows ST in the output table. Then for the entry Hansika, the letter at position number 3 is N, and extracting two letters including the letter N gives NS in the output table. And finally for the last entry Anumita, the letter at position number 3 is U, and including the letter M, it gives UM, which gets extracted into the output table, as two characters needs to be extracted starting from the letter at the position 3. So once we execute this query, we get the following output with the columns sname and mid of sname, 3, 2. Now this time I shall consider a different table, okay, identified by the name device. This table comprises of 4 columns, that is DID, DNAME, DCost and DProfit, and these are the corresponding values for these columns. Now based on this table, there is a question which is asking us to write a query to demonstrate the RPAD string handling function. Now what is this RPAD string handling function? Now the RPAD string handling function is a string handling function which pads n numbers of characters from the right side of a string. Now say for example, if the value of n is say 10, then using this RPAD function, it shall pad 10 numbers of characters from the right side of a string. Okay, now coming back to our slide, based on this question, that is write a query to demonstrate the RPAD string handling function, I shall write the following query. The query says select dname, RPAD of dname, 8, star from the table device followed by a semicolon. So the first part of the query selects the column dname from the table device, and upon selecting the column dname, all the entries of the column dname, that is RAM, DVD and pen drive, gets displayed in the output table along with the column dname. Okay, so You can see it clearly here. And after displaying the column dname along with its entries into the output table, the next part of the SQL query uses the RPAD function to display the column dname in a particular format. Now this RPAD function takes three arguments. The first argument is the column called dname, the second argument is the number 8, and the third argument is the special character asterisk enclosed within quotation. Now 8 here indicates that each of the entries of the dname column should be total 8 characters. That means 8 here indicates that each of the entries of the dname column in the device table should consist of exactly 8 characters, and in case there are shortages, those shortages shall be filled up with this asterisk symbol. Now consider the first entry RAM of the column dname in the table device. This entry RAM consists of only 3 characters, but I have to make the total number of characters to 8, so I have to add an additional 5 characters, okay, which shall be of asterisk type to the right side of the string called RAM. Now note that the reason I am adding the star symbol or this asterisk symbol 5 times to the right side of the string RAM, this is because I have used the RPAD function where R denotes right. As a result, in the output table you can clearly see that for the device named RAM, 5 asterisk symbol has been added to the right side of the entry RAM to make the total number of characters as 8. In the same way, for the second entry DVD, since it also consists of a total of 3 characters, so in order to make the total number of characters as 8, 5 numbers of asterisk symbol has been added to the right side of the entry called DVD. And lastly, for the entry pen drive, since it already consists of 8 characters and the total number of characters should be around 8, okay, the total number of characters, since it should be exactly equal to 8, that's why for the entry pen drive no need to add extra special characters of the type asterisk. That's why I can see the entry pen drive of the column dname getting displayed exactly as it is in the output table. Now consider the table device again in this slide with the columns did, dname, dcost, and dprofit. Now again based on this question, based on this table, there is a question below which is asking us to write a query to demonstrate the LPAD string handling function. Now I shall write the following query to demonstrate the LPAD string handling function. The query says select dname, LPAD of dname, 8, star from the table device. Now the first part of the query selects the column dname from the table device. As a result, each of the entries of the column dname gets displayed into the output table along with the column called dname. Now after executing the first part of the SQL query, the second part uses the LPAD function to list the column dname in a different format. Now the parameters of this LPAD function are the column dname, then the digit 8, and then the special character asterisk within single quote. Now 8 here indicates that the total number of characters for each of these entries of the column dname should be 8, and if there are shortages, those shortages shall be filled up with the special character which is of the type asterisk. Now see, for the first entry RAM for the column dname, okay, it consists of how many letters? 3 letters. So but the total number of characters that this entry should contain is supposed to be 8. So 5 characters are in shortage, so that shall be filled up with this asterisk symbol. Now it should be added towards the left or to the right. That we shall decide now. Since the name of the function is LPAD and L here denotes left, that's why this asterisk symbol should be added to the left part of this string RAM. Okay, so towards the left part of the string RAM, I have added 5 asterisk symbol so that the total number of characters comes to 8, as there are 5 asterisk symbol and 3 characters in this entry RAM. So 5 plus 3 comes to 8. In a similar way, in the similar way for the second entry DVD, the total number of characters are 3, but we need a total of 8 characters. Okay, so 5 characters are in shortage, so those 5 characters shall be filled up with this asterisk symbol, and that we shall add it to the left side or to the left part of this entry called DVD. So this shows the entry star 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 then DVD, which gives a total of 8 characters. Then come to the last entry pen drive of the column dname. This already consists of 8 characters, so we do not need to add an extra numbers of asterisk symbol towards the left. So this entry gets displayed in the output exactly as it is. So here is the output for this query. Now come to this question. Okay, for this question also we will use this table device, including the columns did, dname, dcost and dprofit, and these are the corresponding values for these columns. Now read the question. The question says write a query to demonstrate the concat string handling function. Now what is this concat function? Now the concat function is a function, okay, which concatenates the string data. For example, if you have 2 different strings, okay, and you wish to concatenate both these strings, then you have to use this concat function. Now concatenation means merging or joining of strings. Okay, so if you are using 2 different strings and you wish to combine or join them, use this concat function. Now the query that I shall write for this question is this: select concat of dname, the first argument, the string and within quotation as the second argument, then the column dcost as the third argument from the table device. Now using the concat function, since the first argument is dname, so I shall extract all the entries of the dname column into the output table. So this extracts RAM, DVD and pen drive into the output table exactly like this. And again, since the second argument is AND, so I shall add this string AND to each of the entries of the dname column. So AND shall be added to the entry RAM, AND shall be added to the entry DVD, and also AND shall be added to the entry pen drive. Okay, this gives RAM and DVD and pen drive and into the output table. And just after adding the string AND to the dname column, I shall also add the column dcost to dname and AND. On doing that, all the values or the entries of this dcost column, that is 850.00, 30.00 and 400.00, shall be added into the output table exactly in this format, which gives RAM and 850, DVD and 30 and pen drive and 400 as the output. As a result, the output table, which uses the concat function with arguments dname and then dcost, shows the column exactly like this with the entries RAM and 850, DVD and 30 and pen drive and 400. So with this I end my presentation here.